So yeah, I'm back in LA. Everything's the same, kind of weird, kind of different. I don't have my studio anymore. I'm pretty sure they turned it into an Airbnb. There was a family of 4 in there when I looked. But yeah, ISC. Normally, we'd be on hiatus right now. It's October. But since everyone is focused on CitizenCon right now, nobody's really paying attention to what we're doing over here. I think we can actually squeeze a sprint report into things, if that'd be the sort of thing you're kind of interested in. Now, if you've forgotten what a sprint report is, that's a bit different than a normal ISC. We don't do developer interviews. We don't, the ISC gameplay capture team doesn't create any footage. We literally, and when I say we, I mean me, we dig into the development review folders that are, internal, that are just meant to kind of update everybody internally on where they are on something, and we pull those and present them to you, with me telling you, giving you a little context about what you're looking at. It's not in 4K. It's not professionally created. Nobody, when they made this stuff, thought it would ever be seen publicly, but it's as true and as honest and as behind the scenes an update as we ever do. So yeah, without further ado, let's do Sprint Report, pre-CitizenCon edition, the stuff we can talk about that isn't going to spoil the big event in 2 weeks.
So let's start things off with a look at continuing work on the ship trespass system. Now, ship trespass is the seemingly simple system that will dramatically affect PvP in the verse by correctly determining and setting hostility for uninvited guests. What you're seeing here is one player boarding a ship that is not their own, and of course receiving a warning indicating they're unlawfully entering the ship. This makes them hostile, as well as fair game for anyone else on board to attack without gaining a crime stat of their own, while the intruder will be crime statted the very moment hostilities break out. Go where you're not supposed to be and risk the consequences.
And yes, this also accounts for you as the ship owner following the intruder back to their ship, where you'll be able to hunt them without fear of getting a crime stat yourself.
And you also may notice that the ship owner gets no notification at all. For intruders, your presence is no longer spoiled by automatically joining a comms channel. If the owner of this test doesn't see you, they won't have any indication you're there, at least until scanners and some such come into play later down the line. And as you can see, ship trespass also extends to vehicles and ships as well. So don't go docking somewhere without asking for permission first. Meanwhile, the EU Landing Zone 2 team is continuing their work on extending the new player experience to New Babbage with some new navigational signage you can see here. A lot of news there. As well as adding a few new shops along the critical path to facilitate a better first experience for players, like this Kelto you can see here. Kelto! Kelto! I blame Board Gamer for this. And the EU PU team has made some changes to beams, tractor, and salvage alike that will now allow for independent operation on vehicles like the Vulture you see here. This will allow users to mix and match tractor and salvage beams for simultaneous yet independent control via dual sticks or gamepad, and provide for more dynamic use cases as resource gathering systems continue to develop. Not you too, Dev.
Hey, Jerry, can you make a quick espresso?
Yeah. Hi. They asked if they could make an espresso for us. That was nice.
Oh, yes.
And since many of you are looking forward to... I didn't think you were going to do it right there. And since many of you are looking forward to further iteration on bounty hunting, let's keep our tour of potential gameplay changes to ships going with the Anvil Hawk. Now, one of our team members on the EU Vehicle Content team recently completed a first pass sprint revisiting the Hawk to explore a potential new methodology for loading and unloading
what I'm just going to affectionately call the Wanted, Fugitive, and Stasis Cargo Containers, or WIFs for short. The idea being that once you've captured and contained your prey in the WIFs and set it down behind the ship, this articulating arm would then come out and, using the power of electromagnetism, suck the WIFs into its grasp and pull it up inside the vehicle. Yeah, all this for the WIFs. Looks pretty good.
All right, so it should be noted that the Wanted, Fugitive, and Stasis Cargo Container is something I made up about 55 seconds ago, and has not been vetted or approved by any member of development staff. But I feel good about my chances.
So let's go ahead and stick with vehicles for a bit and look at the old tried and true Freelancer, which is getting some work done to fit all of its necessary item components in ahead of the resource management system coming down the road. Meanwhile, Elwin and our North America vehicle content team have recently completed a first pass sprint bringing the Origin X1 to life, which you can see here is undergoing just a few minor changes from its concept necessitated by continuing development of the vehicle component and resource management systems. Now, while this is still whitebox, that hasn't stopped the team from also visualizing some baked-in lighting improvements, and overall, even with the subtle shape changes, the X1 is looking fantastic in its whitebox form and will only continue to look even better as it progresses further down the pipeline towards release. We've also got a brief look inside the whitebox progress of the RSI Apollo Medevac, which is currently in production.
And I still think the Apollo exterior looks too damn cool to be a space ambulance. John, Ben, I'm gonna need a fighter or a smuggler variant of the Apollo. And no, if you're thinking that's a hint or anything, it's not. It's just me abusing my platform and position to make a personal request. Let's talk about the Sprin'tok.yāi. We haven't talked about the Sprin'tok.yāi in a while.
You can see here the alien material work continues to iterate as members of the NAVC continue to develop the resources our Xi'an friends would likely use to build their ships from. Through their use of a variety of material maps, they're hoping to land on what's essentially an alien version of carbon fiber, which should add lots of nice detail to the exterior and then add a pearlescent finish that'll really make it shine in the light. We've also got a quick look at the back of the wings. And then let's take a look at the cockpit, which you might remember from our Alien Week update has been a bit of a challenge to get right, wanting of course to give it that alien uniqueness while still being usable by the hands of humans and Zero State alike.
And while we're talking about the Sprin'tok.yāi, did you know that we have an entire team dedicated to branding over in the Montreal studio?
We've rarely touched on it, but Nick Forden and his team over there are dedicated to developing the individual visual identities of Star Citizen's several hundred internal persistent universe brands, including this look at the brand document of Apoa, maker of the Sprin'tok.yāi we just looked at. Really tied that together. Now, some folks might write branding off as simply marketing, but the work of this team has been essential to recent improvements to Hurston and Area 18 and New Babbage you just saw, allowing artists and designers alike to create consistent and immersive identities for each location. And as this work extends to nearly every aspect of the verse, it'll continue to help define and refine all visual elements you'll encounter as citizens making your way through Stanton, Pyro, and beyond.
I'm gonna need like a, yeah? Yeah? Right now? All right, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
All right, so I gotta go do this thing, but Chad is right here, so I'm gonna let Chad explain this new improvement that's coming to the cargo system in Alpha 321. Take it away, Chad.
Yeah, so I was doing some work for the tractor beam attachment with new larger boxes in the game. They are often these longer on one sized boxes. And because of how they can fit together in the ship, across each other in all these kind of complicated ways, sometimes placing them in the ships is a bit tricky, and it can be a little finicky to get it just right, especially in tight corridors with larger boxes. And so I was adding some new functionality into the system so that whenever you're placing them around, if the direct placement underneath the attachment doesn't work, there's some fallback logic that'll look nearby where the placement is to try to find a good placement for the box, so that it makes it essentially more forgiving whenever you're using the tractor beam. In the ships with these larger boxes, you can place it such that maybe it's just a little bit off the thing that would work. And instead of just not giving you anything as far as like placing it, it'll give you another fallback option. And all that really means is that it is a little bit easier and quicker and more intuitive just to drag things around in the ships and get things together.
Just a little bit. This is gonna be a life changer, dude.
Yeah, this is what killed me on, just this whole packing system and the tractor beam stuff. This is like, I nearly died on the Hull C getting it in, because it is incredibly sophisticated code for this stuff. It's like, I literally read a PhD thesis on packing algorithms to implement it, which is really fun. It's just the time scale that suddenly I had to operate under because of circumstances out of my control. Made it very intense, but it is very cool, like the stuff that I was doing it. So I'm excited about it.
And we're hopeful this goes into 321.
This functionality, yeah.
So yeah, that's a Sprint report. Hope you liked it. I'm going to disappear now. We'll be back in about 2 weeks for CitizenCon, then a 2-day event on October 21st and 22nd, emanating from the Los Angeles Convention Center. Until then, be sure you check out Alpha 321, which is currently on the PTU, available for testing. I haven't seen a whole lot of it because I've been traveling, but there are a lot of people really jumping at the chance to point out some new things that weren't in the patch notes. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks in CitizenCon.